Welcome back to part 2 of The Cat's Meowth. So I'm going to do it the same style that I did before. It seemed to work out pretty well. I was able just to kind of ramble and then edit things later, and you don't have to worry about looking at anything. There's not going to be anything in the background, so you can have other stuff going on. So far, I've had a couple of other good question submissions, so I've got a little over 40 good questions. I figure I'll keep on taking good questions until I hit 50, and then I'll kind of just say that's enough, and for my first series of Ask the Cat's Meowth, I'll have answered a total of 50 questions, assuming we got enough good suggestions in. So, in this video, I'm going to be going over the next 10 good questions, or questions that I thought were good enough to, or not necessarily good enough, but interesting enough to answer. So, let's go ahead and get started. Question number 1, how did you get started in Pokemon TCG? So in my last video I kind of touched on how I got started into collecting, but not really how I got started into the TCG portion. So as a collector, I pretty much never picked up the cards to seriously play. As a kid I had played a few games with my dad, but since it was just my dad and with theme decks, I really didn't find them all that fun. Well, not necessarily that they were all that fun, more like the decks that I had just weren't that fun, and I got more enjoyment over just playing the Pokemon trading card game, for Game Boy, the Game Boy game. I had a blast playing with that, but I was at that age where I was so, embarrassed of people making fun of me for playing and stuff like that, so I never ended up playing competitively, or even trying to meet other players in my area, a big regret in my life. So when I got back into collecting, I pretty much just continued just collecting, not really interested in playing, but I was convinced by some of my fellow Poketubers to go ahead and give it a try. I think I can credit Abbyroar, HDSS Prime, and PGMCS Skater, or PGMSC Skater, something like that. I can never remember if I get the CS or the SC correct. Anyways, those three were probably the biggest ones to influence me into getting back into the TCG. I think Abbyroar was the first one that started it by, her name is Liz. I can't remember what her YouTube name is, but she played several games with me on Trade Cards Online, as well as another. There were a few others that played lots of Trade Cards Online matches with me. You can still play the game via Trade Cards Online. It's just play TCG is better for it's the drag and drop style. So I would recommend that if you're looking at the drag and drop. Or Pokemon Online, which is the automated one that I have the battle videos up of. But basically, between the three of them, they kind of got me started playing on Trade Cards Online. They kind of pointed out that I wasn't bad. I should definitely look into playing in actual tournaments and in person. And PGM SCS Skater was a local player from North Carolina. He only lived a few hours away, and since I kind of knew someone from YouTube anyways, that was kind of more of an incentive to just give it a try in person. So those three, as well as a few other Poketubers that I don't know their YouTube names off the top of my head, which I just know more of them on Facebook and just otherwise friends, kind of got me back into it. Question number 2. What's your favorite deck right now? So, honestly, our format just it's so luck-based right now. There's just a lack of consistency in decks, and honestly, the format's not that much fun right now. We have a big variety of decks, but it's just a matter of whether decks work or not. We don't have the search support that we used to have in some of the previous formats, and there's too much donking, and I mean, I could go on and on about all the different luck factors. Pretty much the first, the player that gets to go first has such a significant advantage. It really just it gives the game this huge imbalance. Anyways, so pretty much because of that and the lack of consistency with decks, I think Junk Arm really added a lot of consistency to decks, because you could just run one, maybe two of a card, and know that you could possibly run it 6 times with Junk Arm. Same thing with Smeargle, being able to copy your supporter from a supporter from your opponent helped out. So because of the loss of those 2 cards, I tend to prefer Darkrai Sableye variants, because with Sableye I can get items back into my hand, so I don't have to worry so much about resource conservation and, well, I use it, it's gone. I can't just, use a junk arm to be able to get my last copy of that card back again. And right now, we have a lot of heavy retreaters, so I like throwing Darkrai in there, so I never have to worry about being trapped in the active position. Catcher really is just part of that imbalance of the game. It just has knocked out so many good cards that just aren't reasonable to play. Because they're catcher bait. They have high retreat costs. They're not safe sitting there on the bench. Cards that can help you set up, which are with the higher retreats, are just a good stall tactic. So that's why I tend to stick to Darkrai Sableye variants. So I don't have to worry about being stuck in the active position without a switch, and so I don't have to necessarily worry about, well, I just used my 4th catcher and I don't have any more. Question number 3: will you get an Instagram? Really not planning on it at the moment. Along the same line of thought, I've had many people ask if I have Skype. You should get Skype. And I finally broke down, and I now have Skype. It's TheCatsMeowth. Now, TheCatsMeowth was already taken, so in between the words the, cats, and meowth are underscores. And so hit me up on Skype. I'm not always on, but when I am on, just, you can send me a message if you want. Question number 4. How did Meowth become your channel mascot? So I kind of answered this question when I started up the channel. A very, very good friend of mine, if I can remember his YouTube name, it's like DireX13, and I feel like on some variations he has some other stuff, but I think it's just DireX13 for the most part. Really good friend of mine from the UK. I was talking about starting up a new channel, and I think he almost just kind of said it jokingly, suggested TheCatsMeowth. And I was starting up a new channel because Computer 3 NCSU was just an email address without the @ sign. I'd never expected it to get as big as it did get, and it's difficult to remember. I wanted something Pokemon related, and when he said TheCatsMeowth, which fits for me because my nickname is Cat, short for Catherine, and Meowth is a cat Pokemon, and the saying, the cat's meow, I thought was kind of clever, and putting the twist on it to be the cat's meowth. As soon as he typed that out, I was like, that's it. We're good. I've actually asked if he could do the same magic with a Lego name. I've had a few submissions for Lego channels, but not any of them clicked with me the same way TheCatsMeowth did. So still taking submissions. Very, very much thanks if you actually you come up with one that just flows and sounds right. So on to question number 5. What's your favorite candy? So I kind of went over it in the last video, but I have a huge sweet tooth, and I love just candy in general way, way too much to just pick a single favorite. So I'll just list a few that kind of immediately came to mind. Skittles, Three Musketeers, various jelly bean flavors like Jolly Rancher, Starburst. I like gooey things, I guess. Nerds, Runts, lots of Willy Wonka products. Really, the only things that I'm not big on are dark chocolate and mint flavored candies. So I don't really care for candy canes, and anything just dark chocolate. Question number 6. What do you do with all of your commons and uncommons? So I save them all for the most part. They're all, now not always perfect, so they're not 100% organized, but for the most part they're all organized by set and are in binders, and overflow that don't fit in binders are in card boxes. And I just consider them duplicate cards, just like I do any rare, reverse, hollow, ultra rare that's in a binder. I sell and trade them as needed. Now commons and uncommons obviously are a lot cheaper. I usually just charge $0.25 plus shipping. If you're buying a lot, sometimes I go even lower on that. Sometimes I give them away for extras, that sort of thing. especially some of the older ones that I think look cool and people might appreciate getting. But for the most part, they just kind of hang around in binders and card boxes. And it doesn't happen often, but every now and then someone will send me a list of wanting, a common and uncommon set of fire red, leaf green. And I may not have a complete set, but I can get most of them and hopefully be able to give them a better price than they could find on eBay or Troll and Toad. Question number 7. Has the thought ever crossed your mind that you may sell the entirety of your collection? Have you ever approached collecting as a long-term investment? So I absolutely love this question. So the big thing when I get picked on by family members, coworkers, friends for my hobby is I point out that my collection isn't just some stupid hobby that I'm throwing my money away on. I do consider it a long-term investment. Pokemon has been around for over 10 years, I think over 15 years now, and it doesn't look to stop anytime soon. Even in the slow days, the early cards were still valuable, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Magic has been around, I don't even know how long, but significantly longer than Pokemon, and it's still going strong. Many of its cards are much more valuable than Pokemon cards. I mean, all you have to do is just look at sports cards, baseball cards, and see that the value in cards like that doesn't just drop off. And I think Pokemon's been around long enough now that there's always going to be a following, and it's not something that I'm going to expect to make hundreds of thousands of dollars on 30 years from now. But it's something that, if something drastic were to happen, I could liquidate it really fast to get me out of a hole. Something would really, really have to happen. I can't even imagine really what could happen that could be so bad. A terrible, terrible accident where I just owed thousands in medical bills and stuff like that. But usually medical bills don't charge you interest. You just pay what you can per month. As long as you're paying something, they're happy. And I'd rather do that than sell my Pokemon cards. But it's just a little comforting to have it around, that I know that I always have a backup, just in case I need it. Now, I don't plan on selling my collection. I hope to enjoy it for many years. I hope to pass it down to my children one day. But you have to, consider that your kids may not like the same things you do. And if my kids end up not liking Pokemon, then when I'm probably getting close to my retirement age, what if my grandkids don't like it at that point, then there's going to be no reason to keep them. Once I'm dead, if there's no one that's going to be interested in them, then I might as well sell them and use them to do something fun for my retirement. So, assuming that my children and, further down the line, grandchildren don't like them, this collection probably will not be sold until well into my retirement. So I would guess maybe 70 or 80, maybe pay for my retirement home, my nursing home in my ending days. So, you got another 50 years before you're going to see this collection up for sale. Question number 8. Which generation of Pokemon is your favorite? So that's a really easy one, the first generation. It's the one that I grew up with. It's the one that I'm most familiar with. All my childhood Pokemon memories are attached to that generation. That's one where I rarely ever forget the names of the first generation Pokemon. I was around for the beginning of the second generation Pokemon, and there's Pokemon certainly in that series that I feel closer to. But all the Pokemon after that, I wasn't into them. Even the ones I'm around for now, the latest generation, I was into collecting and playing when it was released, and I'll be around for X and Y. But I don't think anything's going to just stick with me like that first original 151. That's what I remember, that's what I grew up with, and that's always going to be my favorite. And hey, my mascot's from the original 151. Most of my favorite Pokemon are still from that original series. Blastoise, Gengar, all sorts of stuff like that. So, gotta go with the first. Question number 9. Do you prefer the older way the TCG was sorted or the new? For example, Black and White on as opposed to based through Call of Legends. So basically, Black and White on and for English pretty much reverted to the Japanese style where they were sorted by type rather than by rarity. So I have to say that I prefer the old way. The old way, you first had your holos, then your non-holo rares, your uncommons, your commons, your trainers, supporters, stadiums, special energy, and then all of your ultra rares came at the very end. And as a collector, it was just very easy to keep up with, well, what card am I missing? What rarity is it? Be very easy to find. Now, if I have a blank in a set, I can't just assume that, oh, it's an ultra rare. It could very well be an uncommon card that I pulled for some, for a deck or something like that, forgot that I pulled it, and then had to figure out, what to put back in it. I understand why the Japanese do it the way they do. For a player, it is a lot easier to have all your cards organized by rarity. It's just, I'm a collector at heart. Especially with the format the way it is, and other issues, just playing may not be around. Especially, as I get older, I'm probably not going to be playing the game. As I start to raise a family, I'm not going to be playing the game, and until my kids can participate. And but I can always collect. There's nothing that's going to be preventing me from continuing to collect. So a collector at heart will always be a collector at heart, and so I have to go with the old English way of sorting the sets by rarity rather than by type. And on to the final question, question number 10. You said prior to uploading your master set video that you'll be updating it every year. Are you still planning on doing that? So sadly, I'm going to have to say no. I'm not planning on a yearly update. When I uploaded the master set video, while it was a great hit and I got tons of views, it honestly did not get nearly as many views as I thought it would. I think the last time I looked, it was around 10,000 views, which is great. Don't get me wrong; that's still an amazing number of people that are watching that video. But I expected for a master set video, as big as it was and as many hours as I put into that it would have, especially after being up for a year, it would have been closer. I have a Dark Explorers booster box opening that's well over 100,000 views, and it just, I don't quite, I guess it's the player versus the collector. Sometimes the players and the people that like to see the openings get the little more, interest, I guess, than seeing the actual sets. But that video, 100,000 versus 10,000 views, and it took me half an hour to make the opening video, and it took me months to make the master set video. Now, it wouldn't be nearly as hard to update it, but it would take several more hours of scanning in the newer sets, mixing up the music, doing more editing, I'm probably still looking at several weeks just to update it every year, and honestly, I don't know if it's really worth it. So maybe I'll do it every 5 years, every 10 years, but we're only adding 3 or 4 sets a year. I'm still going to be doing complete set videos and stuff like that. You're still going to be up to date on seeing all of my collection, and I think maybe that's a project for some other time. So, sorry if that's expanding, but right now, or not expanding, I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but for now, I think I'd rather focus my time on expanding the channel to, having more TCG aspects, which a lot of people have expressed interest in, rather than doing an update on the master set video, which wasn't as big of a hit that I thought it would be in the first place. So, those are the 10 questions for installment 2. I still have plenty more excellent questions, so stay tuned for part 3 next week, where I'll answer 10 more questions. Hope you guys enjoyed it.